Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning. This is your host, Llorraine Neithardt, and you have reached Venus Unplugged. And what we do here is discuss and explore and question and learn and live all things Venusian. Not just the planet Venus, which rules our love life and money, but also the archetype of Venus or Aphrodite. How is she operating in your life, both in men and women? So this is kind of a virtual heartbreak hotel, because whatever we don't know about ourselves is going to return to us as fate. So the more we know how these principles, these cosmological principles are operating in our life, we can change things. So what we're doing right now is exploring the 22 major arcana of the tarot cards. All right. Now these cards are encoded with a tremendous amount of information, and so this is just a little breeze blowing over the magnitude of wisdom that is encoded in these cards. And you don't have to be involved in divination or reading the tarot cards, but the 22 major arcana can be used as a visualization board, as a talisman, where we can explore what does this particular card embody. And then if we need that, we carry that with us. So today is the Emperor. Last week was the Empress. And what is the Emperor about? So the Emperor is the symbol or the image within ourselves of how to build a strong foundation and to build a base, of clear knowledge. A base that we can take our creative ideas or how they bubble up and they give us form. But we also need to be careful not to be too rigid, because the Emperor, he remains opened and lucid. It's because he knows he has to serve a higher force. So that higher force within is the self with a capital S. That's our personal divinity, which is the connection to the cosmic beauty of it all. And remember, with Venus, wherever Venus is, Eros is always around. Eros is that energy of relatedness in the cosmology. That's when things are not related, we feel a discomfort. Something's not right here. It's not matching. Now, it doesn't need to be matchy-match, but no, not looking good. And we can feel that within ourselves. So when that is happening, we're feeling our life is a little bit of a scrambled egg. Take out that Emperor card. Now, you don't have to buy a deck. If actually, traditionally, someone should give you a deck. So if you have a friend or somebody wants to buy you a gift, and go look at there's hundreds of different tarot decks, find the one that appeals to your visual sensibilities, and have somebody buy that and gift you that. Or you can go on Pinterest and find different images and just meditate on that, feel that, or walk around with that, print it out and walk around. So with the Emperor, there's this sense of global that a lot of people don't possess. We get an idea in the middle of the night, and then by 8 o'clock in the morning, it's like, oh, well, really, why would I do that? And that means you're lacking in your Emperor. Your Emperor says, no, let's frame this. Let's get this in the world. This has got some real stuff. Real creative stuff, real on a very pragmatic side. It's like taking the well, it wouldn't really be the muse. It would be kind of the quality of imagination and giving it form, because all things come from the imagination. So essentially, we all have that magician capacity. It's like people will always ask, "Where'd you come up with that idea?" Now, of course, as an intuitive, I have no idea. I guess it's just those voices in my head, all right? But usually a sensei type will ask that because they need the facts. Where are you coming up with that? You know, they want to do the math. They want to know the structure. But both of those feelings are, both of those ways of perceiving are part of how we come to the ideas and creativity that the emperor in due time will bring form to. Now, another image, so for the female, he can be a positive animus figure. Remember, the animus is the male within the female. And he's male, he's swift, he's got a lot of creative energy. He discovers, pioneers, and initiates. So let's say you have a project, right? And it's daunting. It's like, why did I ever say yes to this? It's like making a future date for something, and then when the day comes, it's like, what was I thinking? Okay. But the emperor, so if we're carrying that card with us, or we're meditating on it, then we're looking at it, or we're developing an image, a relationship with this inner archetype, which is what these things activate, they become very real. And the emperor is organized, so he'll put everything in order. So let's say you just can't get your mind in order. Ask the emperor. He'll tell you what needs to be first, what needs to be second, you know, because he's very clear-sighted. And in a sense, he's a window. When you dream of windows, when there's a window in your dream, that's the soul, that's the pain, the window pane. So it's, in a sense, it's the eye of the wind, which is the Old Norse. So the eye of the wind is the transparent opening or pane with what we see the world, and also it illuminates, because both the sun, the daylight, and the night light can come through the windows. And ultimately, it is the eye of the soul. So when you dream of that, it's like, okay, your soul is saying, look through and look what's coming, all right? And this is very, very important for you to recognize. So this feeling of the emperor, you know, what would that feel like in you? What would you walk like? So this darling post on Facebook, and it was for young girls, and how to stand in their power stance, you know. And so it was like 2 feet firmly on the earth. Remember, we're walking on sacred ground, and they would put their hands on their hips, elbows out, and stand in this absolute strength of being. All right, and so the emperor, although has great ease, the emperor is not about power. You don't serve the emperor. The emperor knows that its charge is to empower its subjects to be in service, to allow us to feel powerful. It's not going to undermine you in its positive form. So, and it has this kind of very sharp and creative intelligence. It sees through, in a sense, like the window. And so the emperor serves the realm, very much like the Grail legend. We have to. Who does the Grail serve? The Grail serves the Grail King. So what does that mean? We have to serve, the higher self, or the kingly images, the kingly essences, the higher forces, the sovereign, the one who's been ordained, born of by God. So the fact that the Emperor is also the fourth tarot card is another very important thing to notice, because 4 is the number of foundation. If we look at it from a Jungian point of view, which I tend to do, that there's the 4 the 4 types. How can we look at life, and through which type? So when we're working with this Emperor energy, it also represents Father Time. But it's like it holds together like an hourglass where the sand falls down, okay? And then X amount, that relationship of sand falling. It could be a half an hour, it could be an hour, whatever the weight of the sand. Actually, I don't know how do they actually, is it the weight of the sand then becomes the relation equal to the hour? I don't know how that works. Okay, so, but it's the Emperor's sense of timing, in essence. Now is the moment. Now is the time to impregnate the universal female force. Because remember, the Empress is that female force. He will be in service to this creative force. So it's like the Emperor is Father Time, and the Empress is Mother Nature. And the cool and the dark receptive force of Mother Nature, and he plants the seed. So he sets things in order, in service to. So once you have your vision of what it is that you want to create, you will use this card. As I said, you can carry it around. You can put it on your meditation. You can draw it. I'm always for adding, if we draw something or create something. Or actually, there's a set of tarot cards, I think, by Paul Foster Case, 22 Major Arcana, that don't have any color, and you can paint into them, and that's always good. Anything that we add libido to, anything that we're going to give our invisible love and possibility to. This is all very important because it triggers what's going on in your psyche. And it also lets psyche know that you want to do the work to relate in a way. And its relationship is very, very important, because it is not about, do my bidding, or the Emperor having you do his bidding. This is all about relationship. That is how, what the Emperor represents. So when we want to bring something, or sometimes it's not even, we don't even have the idea. We're not really sure. But if we work with the Emperor, we'll start getting some ideas. Remember, psyche is older than time, and bigger than big, and smaller than small. So it's an incomprehensible, it's an incomprehensible beauty and force and dark and scary, all right? But the Emperor keeps us connected because the symbol of the Emperor has a comprehensive understanding of the material world. He has an understanding of divine lore and recording. And through this understanding, he has mastered the dark, not controlled it. But mastership is always about, after you go through all the trials and tribulations and 12 tasks of Hercules, what happens is you begin to relate to what you don't know. So instead of it being terrifying, it's like, wow, I am a clueless. But this is an opportunity for me to grow. This is an opportunity for me to understand. This is an opportunity to open to something that I would never be open to. And so the Hierophant, that's next week, the Emperor says, I'll show you the way. Use me. In a sense, the architect that builds, the sacred architect that builds the reality. So anything that you want to make real, the Emperor internally is going to help you with that. And what's very important is also that this is the fourth card. The number 4 is sacred in alchemy. It's the 4 elements, it's the 4 realms. It's the number 4 is it's divinity. Is new foundations. It's the throne. It's the cube, which always symbolically comes. So anytime you dream or you start to notice 4s, Psyche is pointing out, you need to contain this. Your cube, a box. Got to put it in the box. Got to give it some type of form. So again, just to quickly go over the 4 functions, which also the Emperor represents. So this is the Jungian principle, and this is like a thumbnail sketch, just so that you can start to understand different levels of perception. And very often we disagree with somebody. We actually have the same values, but we disagree on the perception of it, how we come up with that information. So this is probably some of the most important work with Jung. So these 4 functions give us a key, and also this is why we see things so differently. This is why art and beauty and perception and philosophy can be seen in so many different ways. Let's say the intuitive type, they just make these quantum leaps. They just jump. It's like bam. Now, the opposite of the intuitive type, because the intuitive type lives in the realm of possibilities, doesn't care so much about the facts. Who cares if it's true or not true? But look what it could do if I turned around this way, or what happened. So it's forever waking up these possibilities, or certainly living outside the box. As a matter of fact, half the time say, throw the box away. Oh, there's that number 4 again. So, but the sensation type is the opposite of the intuitive type. They're both spontaneous. The sensation type it has to observe the practical realities. How the mechanism. How did that work? What did you come to? What was it about? What's the formula? So a sensation type, they're not filled with fanciful notions. So you can see how the intuitive with its quantum leaping and the the sensation type needs the facts to drive one another crazy. But all of these are within us. So we can tune into these functions. Usually, though, one of the functions, which Jung termed, is the inferior function. That's the one we use the least of. We're not the most comfortable. And of course, we love to do things that we're good at. Right? So, but what's even trickier is the inferior function, that door, that is the way to individuation. Bring form. So these two types are the opposites, sensation and feeling. And they live life spontaneously. It's kind of the intuitive has a sense, a smell. And I know that it certainly happens with me as I smell the soul. Because it doesn't have a smell like a perfume, or it's just I smell it. It's just, nope, something is in the air. What is that? So you get a hunch without knowing, and it's really not imperative, like where this information is coming from or why. You just know that it's there. And it wants to live in some way. So the questioning will come later. Sometimes the question is, what the hell was I thinking? All right, but there it is. Okay, but the sensation type, they need the records. They sense it in the body. So the sensation type, they understand the time, they understand the records, they understand what goes into something. They're usually good at how long will this project take? What is this about? They're into facts. Now, the thinking and the feeling type, that's the other cross, okay, that are opposite. They operate, they're more deliberate. How are we going to... We got to think this through. We really have to work with this. Saw a wonderful quote the other day, and of course I forgot who said it. It was a scientist, and the quote was that, using logic is not thinking. You're just using logic, and people will always come up, particularly with an intuitive. That's not logical. But, well, logic isn't thinking. It's a different process. So the thinking type organizes his experience into logical categories and then will arrange them in a systematic order. Now, logic is as good as its premise, but the thinking is the creative fact of the thinking is how are you going to put that stuff together? And the feeling type, which is the opposite, cares about or sees life through its feeling values, not unbridled emotion. Emotion is the charge that's around a feeling value. So these are also rational functions. A clear feeling is equally as powerful perception as thinking is. When you really know what that feeling really means, because that's one thing I do every single day. So I work with the soul, and refine and give form to that feeling. What is that really about? What is that connected to? What does that open up? So then the person could feel free to become. If they're just feeling anxious, but they don't know what that anxiety is saying, Is it a neurotic fear, or is it an authentic warning? The soul knows, but it wants to have us understand what that's about. So on a feeling level, we begin to experience, what do I value? What does this mean to me? It's giving a quality. So, and the feeling person, they make great hostesses and chair people and Toastmasters, and they're very concerned with the feeling. Are people comfortable? Are they safe? So these are the different. So actually, when you're looking at this emperor who rules all of these functions, who has access code to these different functions, they can help you. This image can help you start to understand, so let's say someone has feeling function, they're not really in touch with what they value, but they're just very emotional. Now what will happen is, as they express just the emotion, nobody can get a hook on, like, what are you so hysterical about? So if it's their inferior function, as soon as a feeling value comes up, it's like loop-de-loopy time. It makes them very, very nervous. It's like, what does this mean, and what is this about, and why are you saying that? Okay, let's breathe, and let's breathe into what do you value. And a lot of times in communication, particularly between men and women, will express an emotion, but they can't pick up the value, the feeling value that has us so upset. So they kind of scratch their heads and wonder. But if we're in touch with the feeling value, okay, for instance, you get nervous that there's no lock on the door, right? But you just get hysterical. Oh my God, I'm not protected. There's no lock. What am I going to do? And then you tell the beloved male friend, and it's like, they can't figure out, what are we flipped out about? But if you just say, I need you to help me get a locksmith, or I need you to put this lock in, give them the task, that they understand. Oh, I get it. So that's, what the emperor can do. It can help us take from a level of any one of these senses, and it also helps us connect to our inferior function. But there's always really interesting stuff. So that's just a little touch in the wind of the emperor within, and what does that look like? What does that feel like for you? So it's not the ruler over the collective. It is the one that serves the realm. So if you need help for the realm to be served, walk with your emperor. Meditate on that. And just plain old-fashioned use it as a lucky charm. We don't always have to understand. We just have to know that's the image I need to work with. And your psyche knows how to do that. You may not know how to do it, but it knows. So that's the emperor. And next week we're going to go to the Hierophant, who's the Pope, and have an absolutely glorious week. Bye-bye.
Napa know-how.
A Napa guy knows more isn't always better, unless we're talking about full-size vans. These beasts do more than get you from A to B. They have so much space a man can live in it. With shag carpeting, waterbed, and a sweet lava lamp, these mobile abodes have all the comforts of home. With quality parts and plenty of Napa know-how, you can keep the original tiny house running longer, stronger. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know